So, chapter 62, I'm going to do it lying on my bed. Here we go. I met my first love at the age of 19, whom I lost my V-card to. I kid you not, after losing it, the beast in me was unleashed. Like I became a bad things addict and could not stop craving it. Fast forward to 3 years down the track, we end up breaking up. I was so heartbroken, and so was my girl downstairs. I got to the point where I went on dating apps, I met up with guys, I went on so many bad things adventures where I tried it all. The threesomes, the swingers, the James Bondage, the choke me, wooya, you name it. I became an absolute bad things addict. It was my secret. Not even my closest mates knew. I was a very, very bad girl back then. Amongst all this, I had a bad things buddy. Let's call him Pukio. Oh, kase mamafa. Who I always meet up with more on the regular. At the time, he was living with his roommate who was a FIFO worker, so I'll always go over when he wasn't there. After a few months, we both slowed down in contact and met up once in a blue moon. I continued on the dating apps and did what I did. Few years later, one night, I came home from a party not too drunk, but not just over tipsy. I get a message from a guy, Zaddy, who I was talking to for a while at the time, but never had the chance to meet up. Well, sissy boo, hold on to your panty, because this girl was on her way to his house in an Uber. Beforehand, he asked me to come over and gave me the address. Gange went straight for a quick shower, freshened up the cookie uafia aisikama. As I arrived at his address, which is in a complex, I noticed it looked familiar. I approached his front door and messaged him, I'm here. He opens the door and tells me he isn't home alone and that his roommate is sleeping. We end up doing the bad things. 2 hours later, I'm pretty sure his roommate is wide awake now from my vocal cords, singing to the stars and the moon that night. As the sun was coming up, I made my escape while Zaddy was passed out from our gym session. I closed his bedroom door and wanted to use his bathroom before leaving. I made my way downstairs after and approached the lounge to get to the front door. To my shock, the roommate, facing his back, is sitting on the couch watching TV. So I pick up my balls and walk past him, and suddenly I make eye contact. I froze, and his eyes went so wide it could reach the top of Mount Everest. Wow, what an analogy. Sitting there was my old regular F-buddy, Pukio. He says, oh, now you're sleeping with my roommate too. Keep in mind, I haven't seen this guy for a few years. I walked out of there so fast and never returned to that place ever. Forever amene, because I just finished stretching, spreading, and bending over for his FIFO roommate, Zaddy. You sound like the Twisted Bop It toy. Next one. When I was a very single girl, my mates and I planned a trip to Samoa. We were so young, and the main objective of this trip was to eat, drink, swim, and maybe throw around our pōmikis here and there. Pōmikis? I got with someone who was working at a telecommunication site. There's only two, so I can't say which one. Obviously, it's got to be either Digicel or Vodafone, because those guys are What? The teacher said, the makwa what? The makwa helpful. His name was Giongi, and he was pretty cute. We went out one night. He came to the Airbnb where I was staying, and before we did the bad things, I noticed that his sausisi was bent. What? Is that a thing? Their sausises are bent? I didn't think much about it, as I thought he was probably just gippied wrong. So we proceeded to do the bad things. I honestly can't take that serious. Like, did you have to go on like an angle? Okay, serious. After 2 weeks of holidaying in Samoa and getting wasted in bed by Giongi, I went home and we promised we would keep in touch. When I returned home, I booked for a checkup for down there because I wanted to make sure I was clean and didn't catch anything. Well, for fuck's sake, lucky I come from a family of nurses who are always on our backs about those checks because Giongi, the crooked bee, gave me clams and gone. Oh, mother of Christmas Eve. I had to take 2 pills for the clams and got a jab on my ass for the gone. If you don't know what clams and gons are, you're too young. When I left the doctor's, I felt fine and was getting ready to go over to my nana's house for breakfast, when suddenly I got these really sharp pains in my tummy and felt like I was going to pass out. I went to my nana's, went straight to the spare room and started crying. I was in that much pain I couldn't even talk. My poor nana asked me why I went to the doctor's and if they gave me any injections. I just said no. I think Nana knows. Maybe that's where your wingers are from, maybe. But you're naughty for you, Nana. After almost an hour of crying, when my nana left the room, I called 111. I told the operator what I went to the doctors for and what they gave me, and the operator sent an ambulance over to my nana's. Before the operator hung up, I told them I was at my nana's house, and I didn't want my nana to know why I was struggling. This operator was gunning for Employer of the Year award because she took what I said so seriously that when the ambulance arrived at my nana's, they told her to wait outside. Outside the room, you ask? No, they asked her to wait outside the damn house. My poor nana had to wait outside of her own house because her granddaughter was a sluzzer on holiday. In the end, they told me I had an allergic reaction to the jab on my ass and I cut off Giongi for good. Moral of the story, don't play with crooked eggplants and Digicel isn't always seki, eh?